Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another one of our Be Timeless interviews. Today, we have one of my dearest friends joining us for these conversations. And for all of you that you don't remember what this is all about, so the Be Timeless interviews have all to do, the Be Timeless campaign itself, it has to do with talking about topics on how we have been told by society when we were supposed to be achieving certain things, and how society is really dictating the path that we are following and make us feel maybe a little bit down with the path that we are following because maybe it's different from someone else's, or even sometimes it's not the path that society is telling us that we should be following, right? So today we have Paige Ashton coming to this live interview, and I just see that he has just joined, so I'm going to invite her in. And just fingers crossed that this is working, because it always happens. I'm accepting her, I'm adding her. Here she is.
Hello.
Yay! How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good as well. Good as well. I'm just trying to position the camera so we.
I'm like, whenever I come on, I'm like, how is it going to look? What's going to happen?
Yeah, because many times I'm like, then I'm looking at I'm too close, so I don't want to
that
scare anybody.
happened to me the last time, so I'm like, keep myself away. It does this weird, like, even though it's far away, and if you were taking a normal video, but
yeah.
Anyway,
we go with it. So I just did a little introduction to what the Be Timeless series was all about for everybody that has not been watching any of the thousands of interviews that I have done about this series. But obviously we have a lot of people that don't know you, and what we always do is I always ask you to introduce yourself.
Sure. So I am Paige Ashton. I'm 29 and I live in Watford. I work I work in finance within the technology industry. I've recently, when I say recently, 2 months ago, I took on a role as a team manager within sales compensation within my company, and outside of work. Things that I like to do, obviously pageants. So I'm currently doing Miss Universe Great Britain, competing on Saturday, so it's very, very soon. And then also for me, it's working around children and young people's preventative mental health, and then also keeping my own mental health going, going to the gym, and my different coping strategies are basically what I do day in, day out.
Yes, so congratulations, first of all,
Yes.
on that new position. That is
Thank
incredible. Especially, obviously, you're 29. You're now like slowly, going up the ladder right there. So proud of you. And I just also want to ask you, like, what made you feel connected to the Be Timeless series?
I think it's Be Timeless. A lot of my career, I guess I've been the young one, as in, I've been the young face in the room, and some of that comes to I just look young. So even now, people will look at me and be like, not why are you here, but kind of, I have had that question before, and then I say, actually, I've been at the company, be 7 years in September. So I have the experience, I have the knowledge. And so it's almost, you can be timeless regardless how young or how old. Maybe that's the wrong way to frame
that's
it.
perfect.
But either way, you do what you need to do in life, and don't allow that to hold you back, because it's definitely been something that's sat on my shoulder for a long time. And then I think in the last 2 years, I kind of realized, actually, no, I deserve to be where I am. I've worked hard to get here. And so don't see it as you need to prove yourself because you're young. It shouldn't be that. You have the experience, you've worked to get here.
Absolutely. And again, like, this series started a little bit more about women over 30, like about the feeling that I have had in the past of feeling very behind. But then I was also thinking like, well, actually there is a lot of younger people that have been able to accomplish lots of things earlier in life when, as exactly as you just said, you know, like people were like, what are you doing? Why are you doing all of this? You're not supposed to, because you're too young.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be managing anybody until you are like 32, for example. Whether, you know, like we are all defying those society expectations that we have. And this is why we were doing this series, because we want to be able to have these conversations for people that might be in the same situation as you right now, feeling kind of like that imposter syndrome, right? Of like, oh,
Yes.
maybe, you know, like I'm not good enough, or like, why am I here? Is it true? Whether if you've got that position and if you got where you are, it's because you deserve to be there.
Exactly.
And, you know, you've worked hard and you have the skills. So tell us a little bit about your career. Now, you just said that you've been then 7 years in the company.
Yes.
You have just been recently been made like team manager. So how did that
How did that
started and how has
start?
your career progressed?
Yeah, so I started on a graduate program, so straight out of uni, actually. I handed my dissertation in on the Friday and I started work on the Monday. Um, and so I started in global business operations, as we call it. And I did 2 years on the grad program, graduated, and I ended up in the UK team. And I think just because of, I guess, the work I put the work in,
Yeah.
and I, because I started to get more knowledge and I understood different things in the business, and I guess it's going above and beyond. It's just trying to make sure you understand or you have more knowledge because you were in a different role beforehand. So from that, I then got another role within the UK that kind of gave me more experience. I wanted to go into being what we'd call a business partner or a financial controller, but I knew like that was in my head, it's probably 2 years. In the end, it actually ended up being maybe a year, just because people in my team moved and I had such a good relationship with my sales team at that time that my sales leader had asked for me. I'd mentioned it to my like two up at that time, so my manager's manager. And then we had this meeting because we were having monthly meetings, and I was saying to her, "Oh, I actually want to go into pricing." But it was because I was trying to think, what other
Yeah.
direction do I need to go into, because not everything's linear. You don't just normally get every position. Sometimes you have to work around it.
Yeah.
I generally haven't had to work around it. So then, because people had left, it meant I then
Yeah.
got
You
asked.
got the opportunity.
I got the opportunity to step into that role. Really enjoyed it, and I I think I'm probably took it for granted. It's where I would say I excel the most. In saying that, I'm jumping around, but basically, in my in my career, or up to that point, I'd always been in the same area. So I did that role for maybe, I want to say, 18 months. And in that time, so I'd been promoted at least twice to get to that position. And I kind of felt like I'd done everything in that area. And I think sometimes it's for me, it's kind of like, am I too comfortable? Do I need
Yeah.
do I need to be do I need to push myself and try to learn something new? So then I was speaking to my manager and I said I'd like to go on another program. So it's what we call a finance rotation program for mid-level people. So I applied, and then I kind of thought, I'm going up against the best and the best in Europe. So if it doesn't happen this year, we learn, we move on. It happened, and I got onto it. And a lot of the reasons why is actually because I I didn't sell myself that well, and I have a habit of doing that. Um,
Same.
but it's like the feedback was, we know that you can do it, and this program will give you more confidence to really own own your voice and own your own career path. Because even though we're on a program, it's about us making the connections and speaking to executives and really trying to make sure you are in charge of your career. So the first year I was in what we call kind of reporting, so financial planning and analysis. It was really interesting to me. I was doing it at a global level, but I would say it's not where
It's
I
not your
wouldn't love.
passion.
It's not my passion. I realized from doing that, because you're kind of away from the business. I prefer to be around people and really work with them, understand almost what our customers need, what are our internal customers needing, and I didn't have as much engagement. So now I'm in sales compensation. We're closer to the business, and some of what I do is kind of connected to what I did before. So it's interesting. I've come in at an interesting time where I can use my previous skills and also train and help my team
Nice.
get those skills as we're going through this as well.
Nice, that's great.
Yeah.
Do you have within your team people that are older than you?
Um, I I may do. I don't know. I don't ask the question.
Yeah.
So I have 14 members. I know. I want to say they're two are potentially around the same age as me. Two were not. They're like 2 years out of university. So I know, like we're similar age. I don't know if there would be a difference
Yeah.
in how I work if someone was older than me. But I
Yeah.
know that that's a different
Yeah.
dynamic that even when I was in another team, we had a manager come in, and I remember some of my team members being like, "Oh, is she going to be older than or younger than us?" Because it
Yeah.
can. I don't know why.
It is. I've
But,
been I've been in that situation. Like I have to manage people that are much older than me, and
hmm
it's yeah, uncomfortable at the beginning because
Okay.
it's exactly the same thing, right? They think like, who are you to come here to tell me what I'm supposed to do and how I need to do things?
hmm
When I'm much older than you, I'm much wiser, I know more things, you know? So
hmm
that's why I was asking you, like, if you had anybody in your team that was older and how did you kind of like
Yeah.
navigated that?
hmm
But we don't know
Not
yet, and that's
yet.
fine.
Yeah,
That's
not yet.
it's okay. We'll,
Yeah.
we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
hmm
So one of the things that you said was very interesting, and is something that we should be, talking more about. And actually, it's one of the things that I always tell people: like, we're always going to be scared or don't feel qualified enough to apply for certain things.
hmm
As you said, like, I'm just doing this application, I'm competing against the best of Europe.
Yeah.
We've made some mistakes because you didn't sell yourself properly. I would
Yeah.
have made the same mistakes because I'm the same.
hmm
But you took that chance and it's like, okay, it's an opportunity. I'm going to go for
Yeah.
it. If it doesn't go well, we learn from it. And
hmm
then we know what we need to do for the next time.
Yeah.
And if we do,
Great.
amazing, incredible.
Yeah.
This is what we want. So we need to make sure that everybody listening, even though it sounds scary, you just need to go for it. Because if you stay the way that you are, you're never going to, nothing's going to improve. You're going to stay in the same situation.
hmm
And then you're not going to feel fulfilled, probably.
Yeah, this is true. And I had a situation where I tried to apply to another program soon after I finished my program, and I didn't get onto that one. So, sometimes it doesn't happen, and it's just
Yeah.
how do you pivot and how do you learn from it? Because actually, when I look at it, did I need to go on the other program? No. I ended up in the same place as other people on that program, and I've gone ahead.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes you think you need to be somewhere, and actually
It's not.
life
Yeah.
life has
And
another plan for you, but
exactly. When
go
you
with
don't
it.
get it, there is like another route that you need to follow. You might not be happy. You will be
hmm
very disappointed. But as you said, you didn't take that route and you ended up in the same place as the people that took that route anyway.
Yeah,
So you ended up staying in the place that you were supposed to be. So
exactly.
there you go. Great example. Great
hmm
example. Now, you also said that you mentioned about mental health.
hmm
And I remember when I first met you, you were competing for Miss England.
Yes.
And your main platform was all about mental health. And I remember how you were like so shy, so like within yourself, and then seeing the
Yes.
progress
hmm
from that to now, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your journey with mental health and what you're doing with kids, right?
Yes.
Kids and mental health.
Yeah. So my own journey starts at 13. I my parents separated and got divorced when I was 16, and that really didn't realize it at the time, but that really played with my head and also fed into almost how I felt about myself and yeah, how I felt about myself, and I really let that continue and almost have the negative thoughts over and over again, and they got worse and worse until I got to about 23. I hit a really dark point where I needed to get help. So, well, I needed to get help, but I remember it was my first year of working, so I was almost 5 months in. It came up to my birthday, and I don't know, for me, birthdays are always a time where you kind of look back and you're like, am I happy? Am I not happy? And I think also because I was living at home, my dad kind of said, you're not that engaged, and you're not like, kind of, what's wrong with you? And we've learned you don't say that.
Yes.
But and then I said to him, like, I'm not, I just don't feel good. I don't think my life is going anywhere. And it was like, it would have been the most exciting time, in that I enjoyed my job. I'd come out of uni, I'd got my master's. There are so many things that I should have been happy about, but my mind didn't allow me to do that. And I then spoke to the GP, and I got therapy for that, and I did CBT, and that helped for a while. I will say COVID for me was like a really good time, just because it was simpler and I could work out, I would work, and that was all fine. But then this is where it goes, don't get in relationships. Then no, get in a relationship when it's good for you, and when
you're like in the mental health
when you're
headspace
in
to
the
be able to be in
right
that.
I was in the right headspace, but I think I allowed some of the actions of him to make me feel like I wasn't worthy, and it brought me back to where I was before. I wasn't as low, but I was as low, but it
That
wasn't
affected
this
you in a
it
way.
wasn't the same, it wasn't exactly the same. And again, I needed to get help for that. And when I say it was bad, I used to work. I'm a high functioning person, so I would work, but I couldn't keep it together. So I wouldn't personally look after myself. Like, I could wash, but I wouldn't be cooking myself any food. This is when I lived outside of home as well. So you have to look after yourself, and you have to do things. And I almost lost any joy in the little things that I would do. So even if it's, I don't know, going to the gym or anything. And so I asked again for help from the talking therapies that are in Hertfordshire, and they gave me behavioral activation this time. And actually, that's, instead of allowing your thoughts to sit on you, just do. So I would schedule, when I say schedule my week's work, I didn't need to put in, but it would almost be like, go for a 20-minute walk in the morning. If I want to go to the gym, it's start with small increments as well, because don't overwhelm yourself with
Absolutely, that's
how,
important.
so even cleaning, it would be like, do a 30-minute clean. You don't need to think about cleaning your whole room. Just put things in. And it was very much about doing things that are routine, leisure, and then the necessaries. The necessaries are washing, brushing your teeth, eating. But then you have your routines that you do. So the walking, and say I was going to the gym and maybe reading a book. Actually, reading a book could come in leisure, but it's making sure you have all of that. And even in times now where I feel like it's harder, I try to make sure I go back to that, because it's almost make myself do everything. But from that, I built on that and got a lot better. And I've built the gym in, and for me that really helps give me an hour just to work away the day, or work away any
the gym. But when I don't go to the gym, I do feel like I cannot do anything, because I feel like the gym gives me kind of like those endorphins and just set me up for the day. And when you lift heavy weights as well, it's like all this stuff like
exactly. It almost gives you energy. And I know because I was saying to my personal trainer maybe earlier in the year, like I feel really low in energy, but it's almost I'm allowing myself to not get back to where I was, but I'm allowing myself to feel those low moods and I'm allowing it to sit over me, rather than actually go to the gym and not think about. It's the consistency, really. It's making sure you are consistent regardless how you feel. And so because of that and my journey, I then began working with a local counsellor to create almost like a safe space in our community to talk about mental health openly and honestly, because for a lot of people it still is almost a dirty little secret that isn't really, but
no, absolutely, like, and I think it needs to be talked about.
It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary, because especially for children or even us as adults, a lot of mental health issues stem from having them as an adolescent, and then it's almost that we just haven't worked through them, and they, like for me, they showed up in your adulthood, and it's almost, it rears its head because you've been able to suppress it for so long. And through working with that local counsellor, I then was introduced to a charity called HSO, and they go into schools and teach children about preventative mental health and to get ahead of any potential crises that could arise for children. And because of myself, I know how important that is. I think there's still a lot of work that should be done with schooling, and especially educating the younger generation. I know there's probably loads of education for us as adults, but I was talking to my dad about this. If we start now in schools, then almost it becomes normalized, for one, as they grow up, but also they have the tools to know what to do.
And especially with like how things evolve, right? Because I'm pretty sure like what you went through as a kid, or what like we might have gone through as a kid, is not the same as our parents went through, because it was very different. It's very different to what kids right now are going through, like this whole social media and everything like that. Like, it's a complete new game. So I agree with you that we need to do more in terms of like giving the kids the tools to be able to deal with everything that's happening around them. So when they go into adulthood, they not feel lost or get into, a very low moment.
Exactly. And probably mental health is the wrong way. It's more poor mental health. If you end up there, you can almost get back to it, because we all have mental health as we have physical. It's just we don't seem to see them in the same light.
No, absolutely. Is there anything that you want to mention or talk about before we finish this live?
One thing I would say is, if you are struggling or you feel like you have poor mental health, talk to someone that you trust and begin or try to get the help that you need, because just because you're there right now doesn't mean you can't come out of this.
Absolutely.
And I've been there. I have felt like you can't get there, but you can. And I think it's really important that people realize that and know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that you can come back from it. And it's not the wrong word is to use normal, have a normal life, but almost just enjoy life as it is and find the joy that there is.
Yes, absolutely. So for everybody that is listening to this, because this is going to go in the Female Striving Over 30 podcast, how can they find you?
So they can find me on Instagram. So I'm at Paige_Ashton. I don't do TikTok. I do have a TikTok account, but
It's just to
I
watch
feel like
videos.
I feel like I need to like figure that one out. But
I mean, let's say like there is way too many social media platforms right now that
mhm,
sometimes it's quite overwhelming to be in all of them. So
yes.
I don't blame you that you're sticking just to Instagram. That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming and to tell your story regarding how you have achieved things younger than society will tell us that we should be achieving those milestones, and also how important and inspiring has been your mental health journey and the work that you're doing with these associations and with kids. We really hope that people have been inspired by this talk, and that if you're in your 20s and you feel like you're accomplishing things earlier than you should, keep doing it. That's perfectly fine. And if you're maybe in your 20s and you're feeling turning 30, do not. 30s are great. You can still accomplish anything. And for all of those in their 30s and beyond, same thing. There is no deadlines for us to achieve absolutely anything. And we shouldn't listen to what society is telling us or what other people is telling us on where we are supposed to be. Your path is yours and is perfect.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Paige, for being here.
Yes.
And I can wait to see you compete
Yes.
on Saturday.
I will see you on
I'll see
Friday.
you on Friday at the ball.
Yes.
Yay! Perfect.
Right.
Well, have a
Thank
lovely
you so
evening.
much. See
Bye.
you.